And how we got here at this point. Joining us now is NBC senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen, NBC News White House reporter Lauren Egan, and Nate Persily, former senior research director for the Presidential Commission on Election Administration. Thank you for being up early, up late, however it works for all of you. As we start with you, Jonathan, here in studio, we want to talk about the Democrats successfully defending Senate seats here in Colorado, also New Hampshire. What are the chances that they can hold on to the majority at this point in your eyes?
I mean, look, we're still waiting to hear on some of these races, particularly out west. But the big surprise of the night was that Pennsylvania was already called. John Fetterman wins this for the Democrats, a pickup there, which means that the Republicans need to pick up 2 seats in order to get a majority in the Senate. And some of those races are already off the map for them, right? So New Hampshire, for instance, a place where they thought there might be a pickup. Washington, a state where they thought there might be a pickup, off the map. We'll have to see what happens in Arizona and Nevada and in Georgia, but they got to win 2 out of the 3 of those in order to take a majority. So the Democrats look like they're at least going to hold, if not end up gaining.
Yeah, because those seats aren't there. We saw that shrinking early in the night.
Yeah, let's focus on Pennsylvania. Lauren, you spent a lot of time there in that state. Let's talk about John Fetterman's win this evening. Exit polls show that Fetterman's attacks on Dr. Oz as a carpetbagger really took hold and may have been a key to his victory. I mean, he just moved there from New Jersey not that long ago. That seems to have been an issue with voters in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's right. I thought something that was super interesting from our exit polls is that NBC found that about 52% of voters that voted in Pennsylvania today said that they did not think that Oz had even lived in the state of Pennsylvania long enough to be an effective senator, to effectively represent them. I think that that really captures what we're seeing across the country tonight. You know, the fact that we're even talking about that Democrats could potentially gain a seat in the Senate is a big win for them. And I think part of that really goes to the fact that the Republicans just had some candidate selection issues. Dr. Oz being an example of that. When your voters are saying that they don't even think that you've lived here long enough to potentially be an effective representative of them, that's clearly turned out to be a big fatal issue for Dr. Oz.
Yeah, it seems to not matter with the voting issues going into play there in Pennsylvania. But in other states, we are seeing that in Arizona. Nate, I want to ask you about Oklahoma because you've got the ACLU there tweeting that they received multiple complaints of poll workers instructing voters to vote straight party. What do you make of that? And have you heard of any other voting issues?
Well, as with every election, there were glitches here and there. The most notable was actually in Maricopa County in Arizona, where several of the tallying machines were not working when polls opened in the morning. What you see in Oklahoma, I mean, I don't think that that's going to have much of a significant effect on any of the races there. What I would say, generally speaking, is that this was a smooth election. There's still time for there to be problems because we have counting that'll be going on for many days now in California as well as in Arizona, but it was a pretty smooth election.
Yeah, given that, is there anything that you're anticipating as far as in the days to come, something that might arise?
Well, I'm concerned about Arizona and that some of the signals that Kari Lake had sent earlier today, suggesting that there was something nefarious going on with the voting machine failures. But other than that, I haven't seen much in the kind of theme of election denialism that many of us feared.
Jonathan, let's head down to Georgia. It looks like at this hour we're headed to a runoff. Neither party has hit that 50% threshold. If that does, in fact, come to fruition, who do you think has the edge come the runoff election in December?
We're going to head down to Georgia. I feel like the devil talking like Charlie Daniels in there. Look, I hear all kinds of theories about who has an edge in these elections. All I can say about Georgia elections lately is they've been super close. And what we saw in the last runoff elections for the Senate was that the Democrats ended up winning by small margins. And then in the last presidential election, Biden by a slight margin. I think when there's that much focus, the Democrats have shown an ability to get people out to the polls. Whether that holds or not this time, I think it remains to be seen. But
Well, we
it'll
saw
be close, I promise.
And expensive.
Yeah,
And
because there was
expensive.
already an exorbitant amount of money that has been just sunk into this race already.
Now all the money's going there.
Yeah.
All of the money is going there. I mean, we'll probably see record-breaking sums spent in Georgia.
All right, I can hear the fiddle, right, or the devil man in my head.
Somebody
right now.
may sell their soul in order to
get it.
I'm pretty sure it's already happened some way, one way or another. All right. Thank you, Jonathan Allen, Lauren Egan, and Nate Persily. So we actually get a few more minutes with you. We're going to toss to something else, but we have lucked out into just a few more minutes here. Lauren, if I can go back to you for just a moment here. I wanted to ask you about the Pennsylvania race, so that you know a lot about. You spent a lot of time there. The stroke that Fetterman had in May, and then again the debate that seemed to be such an issue at the time, and here we are, not too far along later, and we're already projecting him being the next senator there from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's right. I think a lot of Democrats, certainly a lot of Republicans, thought that debate was sort of the end of it for the Fetterman campaign, and it certainly was a rough few weeks there for the campaign in terms of having to respond to a lot of questions about Fetterman's health. But look, what we saw today was that a lot of Pennsylvanians showed up, and our exit polls showed, as we discussed, that despite whatever concerns they did have about Fetterman's health, they simply just did not feel that Oz was the right person to represent them. As we talked about, the fact that Oz had not lived here for very long was a big issue for people. I also think that just there's a lot of undercurrents of strong support for issues such as abortion that really helped buoy turnout for Fetterman and support for him. And Oz had the difficulty of running, a competitive primary that I think really showed to some Pennsylvanians that he was perhaps too extreme for Pennsylvania, and that was sort of a difficult thing for him to come back from. And as we saw during that debate too, Oz was never really able to answer where he stood on the abortion question. And as we're seeing in some of these exit polls, as we're seeing trends across the country, that was a big issue. And the fact that he was never really able to explicitly tell people where he stood on that, I think was a problem.
Yeah, just not enough Pennsylvania in him. All right. Thank you very much to our panel, Jonathan, Lauren, and Nate. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's go to another big story.